Darren, do you think an apology is now needed?
Well, I mean, I do think she should have apologised for those comments, and she should definitely apologise for smearing her one-time voters of the Labour Party by suggesting that we all go around calling each other scum, Dan. I mean, it's completely inappropriate for the Deputy Leader of Her Majesty's most loyal opposition to go around calling people scum, her opponents scum. That is no way to talk about anyone. I have not heard that in my life in the context of someone saying to someone, well, I disagree with you, therefore I am going to call you scum. And I guess that justification, saying that it's working class northern towns that use this and that, you know, the media class wouldn't understand because they don't sort of populate these places. Well, I find that idea to be almost as nonsensical as that idea that anyone other than biological women have a cervix, Dan, which you discussed on the show last night. I mean, that YouGov poll showing that northern workers and northern voters even who are coming out and saying, well, I wouldn't dream of calling someone that, you know, even in the most supportive group, which is Labour voters, 36% of them, just 36%, think it's acceptable, versus 52% that disagree with that, and just 5% of Conservative voters reckon it's all right to do so. And Dan, the problem is, for me, these are the sort of voters that Angela Rayner and her party purport to be desperate to win back into their fold, to win back people who felt utterly betrayed by how they treat them during the Brexit years, during the last 4 years since 2016. And I'm not sure that turning round and saying, well, you know, northern voters would understand because they all use the word scum. No, we don't. How dare you say that? You know, how patronising to belittle us and assume that we walk around saying these really horrible words to each other. We don't actually. There is an awful lot of, I think, camaraderie and the acceptance, actually, of free speech, of tolerance, of you know, those that disagree with you, being able to have these discussions about politics without launching into venom and vitriol that you would expect from these, I think, pretty nasty Marxist elements of the Labour Party. And it was, really quite summarised well at the start of this Labour Party conference, where you've had shrill middle-class voice after shrill middle-class voice calling for a Marxist end to our economic and political system, Dan, over actually focusing on the issues that you've been focusing on.
It certainly hasn't been a good conference, Darren, it hasn't. And then
absolutely not.
There was this extraordinary moment over the weekend, where we saw Mark Ferguson, a member of Labour's powerful National Executive Committee, taking aim at those he clearly thought were the dangerous and divisive force in the room, white men.
I am going to use this opportunity to ask for more speakers, but before anyone puts their hands up, I am aware, sitting here, one, it is very difficult to see all of you. There are very bright lights, which you can't really see when you sat down there. And two, the people putting their hands up do not reflect the diversity of the people in this hall, and that is very clear to me. I am afraid, and I'm not speaking from a position of particular strength here, there are too many white men putting their hands up. I am not anti-white men. Some of my favourite people, my dad's a white man. But I do not want white men to exclusively dominate this or any other debate at this conference. And following on from my comrade in the chair this morning, I do wish to see the diversity of the whole reflected. I'm not putting anybody on the spot here, but if you want to speak, do not be afraid to put your hand up. We want to hear from you. This is an inclusive conference. Hands up now, please, bearing that in mind. Thank you.
I mean, Darren, where do you start? Where do you start? Because at best, that is a conference and a man obsessed with race. They see everything through the prism of race. At worst, that's racism.
Oh, absolutely, unquestionably. I mean, there are many members of my family, Dan, who are represented by that particular union, who work in the public sector. As you know, the public sector is massive in the northeast of England, a big, big, big old employer. And I think for a lot of them, if I think about in the context of my family, you've got My mother brought us up 3 kids as a single parent in a council estate, bought a house under Maggie Thatcher's right to buy. Grandad, her father was a miner. And you think they couldn't get any more working class former Labour voter if they tried. And I want to know, what element of their lives, what element of their story, Dan, suggests that they are guilty of inherent white privilege, that their skin colour has meant that they have privileges in life that other members of society do not have. I think that is an abhorrent view, frankly. I think it's a divisive view, and I think it's one of a party that is clearly not serious about winning back voters in areas like this. How dare they turn around and speak of white privilege when they purport to be the party of working class people? Black and white, Dan. I don't think your skin colour, your sexuality, your gender identity comes into it, right? What the Labour Party...
Maybe one of those white men just happened to have a good question at that moment in time.
Well, quite. Or maybe black and minority ethnic people that were in the audience just didn't want to ask a question, right? Maybe they felt a bit embarrassed by the shrill middle-class shrieking that went on throughout that conference, right? Maybe they actually didn't want to be part of that. It's as simple as that, I think. And I just... there is such a wasted opportunity for Labour. It really is.
They are eating themselves. They've done it all week, and there's a crisis in the country, and Labour is eating themselves. Where is the opposition? Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.